Welcome to this video lecture of Live Text Access, Training for Real-Time Intralingual Subtitlers. This is Unit 4, Entrepreneurship and Service Competence. Element 1, Management and Interpersonal Skills. This lecture is about basics of customer communication. The materials are created by SAPTI Access and ZDF Digital. This is the learning outcome. The trainee can timely and effectively respond to customers' requests to ensure accessibility. In this video lecture, I will talk about basics of communication by means of a few communication models. After that, about what to consider and communicate with clients and how to respond to customers' requests. What can we learn from communication models? The main models of communication can be split into 3 categories, and all following models can be assigned to one of these categories: linear, interactional, and transactional. The linear model holds that a message travels in a straight line from its source through a channel and to its receiver. Linear models explain one-directional communication processes. The interactional model holds that communication travels in a circle as the sender transmits a message and then the receiver responds with feedback. So thus both parties become sender and receivers. Interactive models are best for explaining impersonal two-way communication processes. The transactional models holds that sending and receiving occur simultaneously. They explain direct personal communication processes where two-way feedback is immediate. Like mentioned before, models of communication are conceptual models used to explain the human communication processes. To understand how communication between people works, which factors are relevant, and why difficulties appear, we will have a short look at different communication models. There are 8 main communication models which make the complex topic more understandable. And over the years, these various communication models have been developed and some piled up on each other. The aim of these models is to present the interrelationships, levels, and processes of communication as simply as possible and on a smaller scale. However, despite numerous research results, it is hardly possible to come to a final conclusion and define a comprehensive and perfect description of communication. In the models, communication is broken down to basic pillars that show how we communicate with others and the issues we must overcome for successful communication. It would be beyond the scope of this lecture to go into all these models, so following only the main aspects of the most important models and a short summary. The communication model of Friedemann Schulz von Thun distinguishes 4 different levels in each message: the factual level, the self-revealing, the relationship indicator, and the appeal. The so-called factual level is about numbers, facts, and other data or rational information. In the self-revealing level, the speaker reveals something about himself, what happens almost every time communication takes place. It often happens unconsciously, but it allows an insight into the emotional world and personality of the sender of a message. Information about the relationship between the sender and receiver of a message is also conveyed by the message in the relationship level. In the appeal level, a sender of a message always wants to achieve something with his statement and to evoke a reaction from the recipient. Thus, it can be directly requested to do something, or less obviously, in an action, or its omission is suggested. Now, a few words about the Shannon-Weaver model of communication, which also has been called the mother of all models. A communication model that clarifies the interaction between people in a relatively simple way and shows where problems can arise. The idea here: every communication consists of two sides. A sender who wants to pass on a message or information, and a receiver who receives it. In order to transmit the message, the sender encodes it, which sounds complicated, but actually just means that it's expressed in speech or body language. The receiver, for his part, must understand and decode this code. For example, speak the same language or be able to correctly interpret and understand the body's signals. The communication becomes complete when the receiver sends back feedback that he has understood or misunderstood the message. According to this communication model, misunderstandings occur when a mistake is made on one side. The last two examples of communication models make clear that communication models can provide clarity in communication. Therefore, communication models explicitly answer the following question: who says what, to whom, and why? And this can help to prevent conflicts and to have a more constructive communication in private situations as well as in the working environment and in the communication with clients. So let's have a look at the communication with clients. Various types of communication represent a main aspect of daily work with clients. For this reason, everybody should regularly familiarize themselves with the most important communication models. On the one hand, in order to learn how to interpret customer statements or requests correctly, and on the other hand, in order to convey their own statements in a way that is suitable for the customer. Communication with clients should always be transparent and information transmitted benefit-oriented. The customer should have knowledge about the company or the service provider, like products, other services, other offers, social commitments, core values, and other stuff. This is the cornerstone of mutual understanding. Communication with clients must be personal, and every customer must be addressed individually. Means all communication must be focused on the individual. For example, there's a difference between talking to a private client who needs your service for a trustworthy doctor's talk and a meeting with someone from a big company which wants to book you for a conference. Through communication, which is customized and adapted to the customer needs, you reach the client's emotions. Communication with clients must be proactive. Inform your customers even about problems or failures at an early stage. Open communication and active involvement in relevant business processes are good for the customer relationship. Communication with clients must be simple. Information is often formulated too complicated. Express yourself as simple as possible in your customers' communication. Communication with clients must be a dialogue. Customer communication is changing from monologue to dialogue. Especially through modern media, it is possible and also expected to communicate not only one-sided. And the last one, communication with clients must be fast and directly. Now let's have a look how this works in practice when you receive a customer's request. At first, a few aspects which you have always to consider. Customers expect a response to their concerns within a few hours or maybe one day. So check your inbox every day and respond in a timely manner. After all, in addition to speed, competence and kindness also count. You should respond to inquiries not only in a reasonable time, but also pay attention to the quality and style of your response. This way, you can convey a professional and authentic image of yourself. Surprise your prospects with detailed information they might not have expected. When you receive, for example, an email request, why not give the sender a quick call? This way, you avoid unnecessary waiting time for the response and can quickly bring the request to a conclusion. From the customer's inquiry to the completion of the order, the personal impression the customer has of you plays the most important role. So always face customers in a competent, helpful, and friendly manner. When a customer's request receives you, always communicate with focus on information and dialogue. Maybe the client isn't sure yet to hire you. Pay attention not to communicate linear. Think about the interactional model instead. Means communication travels in a circle as a sender transmits a message and then the receiver responds with feedback. Thus, both parties become sender and receiver. Important here, convince instead of persuade. The customer and his needs should be in the focus of your actions. The primary goal is to get an order and the customer's loyalty. To see the customer as a partner makes the communication easier. Now, an example of a deaf or hard of hearing individual who wants to book you as a speech-to-text interpreter, or maybe only wants to know a bit more about your service. In this case, she or he is interested in being supported with the communication during a meeting at work. It's important to communicate openly what the customer can expect and what not. In this case, it's the best to give a revealing insight of how everything will work exactly. So for this example, you can tell the customer, as a speech-to-text interpreter, you will not interface the conversation. You only participate passively and support the client in following the meeting. Furthermore, tell him or her that you have a vow of silence, and so everything that is said is confidential. You can offer the transcript of the meeting afterwards, but you are not required to. So here you need to arrange this beforehand. Anyway, it's very important to agree upon everything with the customer in detail. For example, if the client doesn't come to a meeting, the interpreter will not just stay to make the transcript. Talk about all details. For example, where you want to sit in the room and how the text will appear. Maybe on a screen or, for example, using text on top. Make sure to clarify all customers' questions and to inform her or him about all details. When this conversation is via email, consider that it maybe takes a lot of emails to clarify everything. And of course, speak openly about the payment. The main models of communication can be split into three categories: linear, interactional, and transactional. Communication with clients should always be transparent and information transmitted benefit-oriented. Make sure to be available for customers' requests and react in a timely manner. Convey a professional and authentic image of yourself. Always face customers with competence, helpfulness, and kindness. Information and dialogue are essential components. Exercises. The exercises for this video lecture are in the trainer's guide and at the PowerPoint file. Thank you for your attention.
LTA Live Text Access, Universitat Autónoma de Barcelona, SDI, Internationale Hochschule, Scuola Superiore per Mediatori Linguistici, ZDF Digital, European Federation of Hard of Hearing People FHO, Velotype, SUBT Access, European Certification and Qualification Association ECQA. Co-funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. Erasmus Plus project 2018-1-DE01-KA203-004218. The information and views set on this presentation are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the official opinion of the European Union. Neither the European Union institutions and bodies, nor any person acting on their behalf, may be held responsible for the use which may be made of the information contained here.